All right. We're not going to waste too much time getting this started. So first off, we're going to have Dr. Jerry Shaw. Just give me a couple of seconds. Dr. Jerry has been with NUMMI probably close to 2.5 years. And he kind of led the way, pioneered a whole lot of people joining and coming on board with this amazing technology. And if you don't have the opportunity to connect with him as often as I do, I'm kind of sad for you because I tell you what, I'm able to. We're excited and delighted to partner with Dr. Jerry on a weekly basis, and to just to be able to glean off of him strategies, tactics, techniques, and building this amazing community with NUMMI and in the world of network marketing. Tonight, each and every one of y'all are going to get the opportunity to hear some amazing trainings, teachings, just the ways that Dr. Jerry builds a business. So with no further ado, Dr. Jerry, take it away.
Thank you, Keith. And I feel the same way about bouncing around with you on a weekly basis. It's an honor and a privilege to be connected with you and with all of the true leaders in this team. And everyone that's on this call is a leader in my mind. You're setting the example for the people that you do bring to the table. And that's the key. It's in being the example for what it is to be successful. And with NUMMI, there's many resources actually in that regard. There are trainings in the back office. There's the NUMMI Academy that is Stephen Scott, teaching you pretty much about the psychology about the business, but also vision mapping, various other things like just the psychology of personalities and things like that. But it's all good stuff. It's all great. But I like to distill training down to something so simple that it's really easy to communicate and it's really easy to duplicate. I've never made it difficult. In fact, my trainings are always around 3 key points. And we can go on and on and on those 3 key points. But I like to keep it narrowed down to that simplicity, because that's what creates a network, is simplicity. And so we don't want to deviate into anything complex, into explaining all of these intricacies, explaining even compensation, things like that. I almost never do that, because all of those things take care of themselves. I think the most important thing to take care of is right here between our ears, and that is what makes or breaks you. And in my training, it's very simple. And the 3 points are: you become a product of the product. And that doesn't mean you just take the NUMMI products. And the product of the product means NUMMI is part of the product. You immerse yourself in NUMMI. You're on this call. You're on Karen Justice's call. I know my team members are regular participant in my calls. You may have other team leaders that do calls and you participate with those. You may have calls of your own. This is all about being a product of the product. It's immersing yourself in that. And what happens when you immerse yourself is you become heart connected. That's the whole key to winning in this industry. There are those people that are in their heads and in their heads too much. They think too much. They want to go to this training and that training, and they're all the time trying to do trainings and not applying. The most important part of any endeavor is where you are. Is where you are. If you're in your head, you're easily thrown off. You easily the clouded with doubts come in. Fear lives in your head. Things like this. So you get in your heart, and part of that process is understanding why you want what you want to be here, actually. So the steps, and there are steps, just as I said, my three key points, and starting with become a product of the product, there are many steps within each category. And the steps of becoming a product of the product are actually setting your goals and setting even it's really good to even have daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly goals. It's good to write those down. Most people never write their goals down. but you've got to write them down because they're just dreams and thoughts and ideas in your head. But if you write them down, it coalesces, it crystallizes them, it makes them real, it puts them on something. Even the better step is to make a vision board with those goals and put it where you can actually see it. But the next step is even more important. The next step is looking at that vision, looking at those goals, and asking yourself, why is it important? Most people never do that. First of all, most people never write down their goals. Secondly, most people never ask themselves why that's important, and they don't take it to the next level. Some people might look at, having a second home or a new car or something. They have a picture of that car or that new home, and they never imagine why that's important. But then now you look at it and ask yourself, why is that important? And you write down the first thing that comes to your mind. That's probably not your true why. It might be something like, well, the house we live in is all broken down and we've outgrown it and these kind of things. We need a new house. That's not a true why. That's not emotional. That's not in your heart. If you think about it and look at that, what you wrote down, all of those things, the house kind of breaking down, we've outgrown it, those kinds of things. And you say, why is it important to change that? It probably will hit on your family. Well, the children, they all share a bedroom. It's not, the neighborhood isn't great. The kids walk to school and they get harassed, and these things start coming up. Now you're getting closer to your true why because you're getting to where it becomes emotional. And emotion is around those things like family, like legacy, like your ultimate vision of your life, the footprint that you hope to leave on this planet. Those are the things that can evoke an emotion. That's the thing that will get you in your heart. All of this is about becoming a product of the product. And if you're not in your heart, and I've seen literally thousands of different very successful people in this industry on stage, and the ones that are on stage and they start speaking, almost always it's emotional. Almost always is, we almost gave up, but we didn't. And very often there are tears, there's some kind of emotion that they stuck it out and it changed their life. So important to get to that emotional level. And that's where your true why is. Why is it so important? Because this is not an easy business. For those of you that want to turn this into a business and you want to have phenomenal success, you have to understand this is a business that does take dedication. It's a business that takes a level of commitment. It's a business that requires a level of action, and it's consistency in that action. And that requires that heart level energy because there's no one driving you. There's no boss telling you when to show up or when to take a break or when you can take a vacation. It's you. And in order to drive you to that level of success, you've got to connect at that heart level. So first of all, with the company, with Stephen Scott, with the mission surrounding NUMMI, with the various leaders that you might connect with on their calls, with the testimonials that you hear, those sorts of things, with the vision that you have for your life and the impact of what your life means on this planet, ultimately, the footprint you leave for your family, your legacy, all of these things. This is the heart that carries you to your success. All of that is in my first key element, which has become a product of the product. Now, the second thing is it's a universal thing. Back in my day, we hit the phones. We would send packages that had DVDs in them, but it was about the relationship. And what I mean by it's universal has never changed. It will never change. This industry is about relationships. And we have Nicole Burchett on as well. And Nicole is an influencer, social media influencer. She's huge on the internet. And that's not my thing, admittedly. But Nicole will let you know that's also about relationships. She puts content up that's interesting, that is appealing to people in their lives. And so it creates that magnetism, that relationships, that people want to be there. People want to connect with Nicole. People want to see that. They want to know her. They want to follow her. That's all about relationships. In my day, it was more reaching out to people on the phone. And the number one thing in the relationship, now we're on point two. Point two is sharing. Point one, get in your heart. Become a product of the product. That includes the company. That includes everything about it. Two is communicate. If you're in your heart, if you're a product of the product, you can't help but communicate it. But in the subcategories within communicating, it's understanding how to communicate. And how you communicate is God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. The power of communication comes more in listening, in caring, in that kind of energy rather than telling people things. You know, you can really separate out the people that are successful and the ones that are not. The ones that are not tend to rule over people. They tend to just, I hate to use the words, but throw up on people and a lot of information, and almost like you start running from that kind of person. It's too much. You don't want that. What you want is someone that actually listens to you. So remember that when you're building the relationship, and if you haven't been doing it that way, start when you reach out to people. I have a notebook. Always have a notebook by my phone, and that's old school as well. But when I'm talking with people, I'll make notes. I've got piles of notebooks, but I can go back and look because it's all dated. And of course, I have my current one that's the most important one, because that's the one that catalogs some of my current phone calls. And I will make a note on how that, just even if it's one thing about that conversation, like maybe their child was down with the flu that day. That's gold for a follow-up. You definitely want to follow up with that person and ask about their child. We always went on FORM, form. You want it as you're listening and you're asking questions. You ask questions around FORM, F meaning family. Family is huge. If you could talk family, get somebody talking about family and you're listening, and you heard that little Sarah was down with the flu, that's where that person's heart is. You know that they're connected, they've got family, they've got a child, they're concerned. You write that down when you follow up with them and you ask about Sarah. How's little Sarah doing today? That wins you huge brownie points. And it gets to a place where you don't do this stuff just for brownie points. You do this stuff because you are in your heart. And when you are truly in your heart, you see the same thing in other people. You see their heart and you begin to see their vision. And then they're more likely to share their vision with you because they begin to build that trust with you, that know, like, and trust factor. And the only way you get there is if you listen. And I know on social media, we'll bring Nicole on here in just a second, Nicole, but you don't, in social media, I know there's a lot of different ways you can approach it. And I know that there's different social media groups. We have a group for our neighborhood here. I know I could join a group for gardeners because I love to garden. I love carpentry. I could join woodworking groups, things like that. But I'm not going to get on those groups and start talking to Numi. If I'm in a carpentry group, I'm going to start talking the tools, and talk about the latest tool I tried and a different technique I might have used and these kinds of things. And the other carpenters would go, wow, I want to connect with this guy. I want to hear more. If I start talking about Numi right away, they're going to go, who's this? Let's block this guy. Definitely don't listen to that. How did this guy get in here? So you always want to be sensitive to where people are at, and you want to post things that people actually want to see and hear. And then that's how you build a relationship. Then you can go to that next level, because as people know, like, and trust you, and they get in their heart with you and connect with you, it it pulls out from them. But it's all about relationships. And if you don't mind, Nicole, jumping in on that one, I would really appreciate it, because you're like, I call it, if I call myself old school, you're new school. So follow me up a little bit with that.
So this is actually so funny, Dr. Jerry. I really didn't know like exactly what you were going to say tonight. But I did a TikTok earlier today. It's 10 minutes long, and it says exactly everything that you just said. Wow. And so in a little bit of different way, but basically the bottom line is, how somebody perceives this industry, and they see people promoting, and maybe they think it's a scam or a pyramid or annoying, or if you have to promote to your friends, then it's not somebody said like get a real job, because on TikTok we kind of go back and forth. Every platform's like a little bit different. But when you really learn the platforms and engage with the people, you start building the relationships. But what I was saying in that video is kind of everything you're saying. There's no right or wrong way to network market. When you're marketing and you have a product to market, you need the consumer. You need an audience of who's going to buy that product from you. And how are you going to get that audience? And that's where it comes into building relationships. You can do that through social media, or you can do that through social media. I was talking about how old school people I pulled out my landline on my TikTok, and I said, you see this phone? It's a landline. I go, our oldest leaders in this company, they literally pick up the landline and call you on the phone, old school. I said, I have people that do trade shows. I have people that invest in products and give away samples. I have people that they have lists. They've been building lists for 20 years. I have people that do social media. I mean, there's no really right or wrong way to connect with people, but how you connect with people is people who learn, like, and trust you and know you. And I think one of the things that's been super helpful for me over my career in this is just being authentic and transparent, and not being somebody who I'm not, because that's really going to gain your followers of the people that actually relate to you and can connect to you. And I let people in. I mean, when I started networking, I was carrying my baby like on my shoulder, walking around. They saw me in the sandbox, and they saw my child grow up through the internet. It wasn't just business. It was just my life. And then it grew into me traveling and going to events, and my lifestyle, and being able to stay home with my kids. And you start showing people, it's not just the product or the company or money. You start showing them the value of wanting to be connected to you, and in showing people that you care about them and building that relationship. And so with all that said, you don't have to be like me and be crazy on social media. It's however you can choose to connect with people. I think the biggest thing is don't give up, be consistent, because people do have to see things 7, 8 times. They might roll their eyes 10 times before they say yes. So you think they're saying it too much, but they're not. Never stop sharing your story. Ever stop sharing your story, because the more you share your story, the more it is planted the seed, the more people know. And one day it's going to click, and they're going to say, Nicole, I've been in this company over 2 years now. I get people from day one, Nicole, I'm ready to order, because they're following you. And guess what? I have a leader right now that just came to me and said, okay, I'm ready to join with so-and-so. And I said, oh, they already went to another company. What? You literally just lost one of the biggest leaders in the industry, because you planted and you dug, and now you gave up, and you moved on, and that leader has been watching and following, and he's ready. And so people want that leadership, and they want that consistency, and they want to be with someone that they can trust, that truly believes in what they're doing, not just about the money. There might be slow times. There might be times I'm not making as much money, but that's okay, because I know the messages I get. I know that I'm helping people. I see the vision. I know where it's going. And I know no matter what you do, whether it's another product, another company, another job, there's going to be slow times. Your hours are going to get cut. That product might not be the most needed thing right now. The economy might take a hit. There might be a lockdown. Like you just don't know what's going to happen in the world. But the one thing you can always count on is your relationship with people, no matter what. Because if you have that, you can go anywhere together.
Wow, that was pure gold. That was awesome. We could end the call right now, because that was a great training. Thank you, Nicole. Really, really appreciate it. And one thing you said there was about stories. In fact, facts tell, but stories sell. It's really good to tell stories. And that's a great way to communicate is the story. And with Numi, we have a great story, one of the best stories in the marketing world. And another thing, you create your story. Definitely when you first get in, take your before picture. If you get a physical exam and you get a recent physical exam, go in and get another one and get a baseline of where your blood test is. I recommend a liver panel as well so that you can see 6 months later the possible changes. And that's part of your story. It's all about creating that story and all about that. That's the strongest communication that we have. And we are, in the reality, professional storytellers. But back to the FORM, family is what I try to evoke first in people, because that's where their heart is. And that's where I take my notes. And like Nicole said, it might be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times that you follow up with people before they actually say, wow, tell me more. Because I just drop little hints here and there. The next thing you go after F is occupation. And I love occupation because that's where you can actually ask them about themselves. You can actually ask them, some of the things that they're good at. Like let's say if I am talking with a carpenter, I'm like, wow, tell me, are you, do you do the framing or do you do the finish work? Tell me a little more about what you do on a daily basis. That's pure gold. They love that. Because in this world today, people get inundated with all kinds of, not only all kinds of media, but news and everything else that's going on in the world. And very rarely is anyone actually listened to. Very rarely does someone look at you in the eye or on the phone and ask you, about what you do on a daily basis. What's your occupation? That's pure gold because they will drop hints. Well, I've been doing this for 25 years. My wrist is getting sore, my elbow, I'm having some issues. Wow, take your notes because that's something you can follow up on, and you can later drop some hint about somebody's testimonial about their joint discomfort, things like that. These are pure nuggets. The next thing, FOR, recreation. Usually people might bring that up. If they don't, gosh, if you're working that hard and you're sore and all of these kinds of things going on, what do you do for fun? Just something simple like that. And then you listen and let them explain. And oftentimes that final thing, FORM, the M is money. The final thing will usually come up somewhere. Maybe they're talking family, F, occupation. Well, they actually cut our hours. I'm making less money now, or things like that will come up. Recreation. I love to ski, but we haven't had the time or money to do it. These kinds of things, they will oftentimes mention money, especially these days. Do you realize that 46% of small businesses right now can't pay their rent? Money's going to come up. So usually you don't even have to bring that one up. So just listen for that one and write it down. And one of the things that people have objections with getting started, they don't want to spend any more money. Oh, I just don't have any money. I don't have any extra money. The only thing I say to that, I don't challenge them and say, oh, come on, you've got enough to buy, it's $100 to buy the 2 products. You never want to challenge somebody, because you never want to get in a divisive situation. You want to keep the trust going. You want to keep the likeness, the liking going. The way I handle they don't have any money is I go, yeah, I've lived most of my life like that, but thank God I've been able to change that. And just shut up. Don't go on about it. They've heard that. They've heard that you, just like them, struggled with money, and yet you changed it. So that's in there rattling around in their brain. Some people, it might be time. Oh, I just don't have time. I don't have time to do anything extra. And then I just say the same thing. I said, I've lived most of my life not having enough time to do the things I really want to do. Thank God I was able to change that and just let it go. They may actually say, well, tell me more about that. And if they do, then go on and you can build on it and say, I was able to build an organization and do really well because I was very fortunate to have found this company, and it is such a great story. I can't help but share it, and change my life. Something like that. Again, everything that I do is pretty simple, but it's based around those 3 key principles. Now, the third one, and Nicole mentioned it, don't give up. The first one, product of the product. It's all about your goals. It's all about your why. It's all about absorbing into NUMMI. The second one is just communicate it. And if you truly are a product of the product and you're in your heart with it, which you can't help, once you absorb into something, it gets into your heart, then it's an automatic thing to communicate it. So it's not like, you have to figure out how to communicate it. Everyone, like Nicole said, everyone's a little different. You can't do it in a wrong way. Do it which suits you the best. That's why I will never teach people a script, because a script always comes across sounding fake. You communicate according to what you are comfortable with. That's the best way, because that's you communicating from your heart to theirs. You're not in your head. You're not remembering something. You're just being yourself. The third key thing is you don't give up. The thing about this, the hallmark of this profession is it does require time to manifest back to you, your efforts. What you're doing right now for your business and your focus and everything you're doing right now will manifest itself no sooner than 6 months from now. It's because of the way network marketing works. It requires duplication. That's why I like to keep it so simple, not overcomplicated. Keep it about people helping people getting in their heart, people just sharing with how it's comfortable for them to share, and then just not giving up. Because when you work at a job, and typically you go in and punch a clock, or you work by the week or the month and you get a paycheck, then you can calculate what you're going to make each day, each hour, each week, each month. Network marketing is different than that. You are your own CEO of your own business, a multinational business, and it works a lot differently. Most people aren't trained. Schools don't teach us about how to handle that kind of business. So what you do is you remain consistent, you remain focused, and you keep building, and you keep doing your day-to-day, your daily method of operation. It's real important. And the 90-day focus is critical, I think. That's what I've always done. It's always paid me back in spades. It's a huge way to do it, because I started this call saying, you're the leader, you set the example, people will do what you do. You can't sign up some people and say, now this is what you do it this way. You do it. Keith Chasson talks a lot about Alexander the Great. When they came across the Mediterranean and they landed the ships, Alexander said, burn the ships. They're like, what? Burn the ships? Yeah, burn the ships. That way there's no retreat. And that's powerful, because there's only one way you can go. And another thing I really liked about Alexander the Great's strategy is he led from the front. That's why his ragtag group of arguably anywhere from 25 to 40,000 men, that was, not, most of them weren't professionally trained, and they were obviously tired because they marched, they conquered all the known world in those days. But they would meet armies like the Syrian army that was 300,000 men. But the generals on the Syrian army, the Assyrian generals, they were on their horses at the back, telling their soldiers what to do. Alexander was in the front, and he was fighting ferociously. So he was the example. And that's what you want to do with the 90-day focus. You want to be the example. You're there day in and day out for your team members. You're right now we have the 90-day focus call from corporate every day at 4 o'clock Eastern. Show up there every day if you're building a team, and invite people and get them to see the power of the product and get them asking the questions, creating the curiosity. Wow, I want to try this product. And then just say, well, here's how you do it. We order and you assume the sell. I always assumed the sell. When I got off the call with people and I called them and said, what'd you like best about that? With Steve Scott talking about the glutathione, and they'd say a couple of things. I said, well, here's how you get yours. And a lot of times I'd pull it right up on my screen and I'd take, what name do you want it to come to? And, I'm excited for you. And they'd just go ahead and start getting them involved. But then I don't just drop them. I don't run off to the next person and say, okay, and do the same thing. That person just signed up. The most they'll ever be excited is right in that moment. And so you capitalize on that and you help them understand this is what we do. And we get on these calls. You do a little mini training with them. You give them the call schedule. You help them understand to make sure you take your before picture. And if you are going for a physical exam, maybe request a couple of other panels so you can really compare it 6 months from now and see where you're at. That's creating your story. The most powerful thing you have is your story. Again, facts tell, but stories sell. And those are the things, as you're communicating with people over time, that you can drop those tidbits. You can help them understand, I went to a physical exam and my this and this and this is all better within normal limits. I'm shocked. They're like, wow, they might be saying I'm struggling with those same things. These are just part of building that story, part of building that momentum. But again, point 3, you don't stop, you charge ahead and you keep going, even though at the end of the week, maybe you feel like you didn't make anything. You seem like you worked hard. One of the things my mentor told me is you'll work harder than you've ever worked in your life for less money. But that's the first year. And it turns around. In network marketing, it turns around with time. If your commitment, if you're consistent, if all of these things you're doing, like we're talking about right here, it turns around and you make more money than you ever dreamed possible with less effort than you ever had to give. That's the difference. That's the difference in your job to residual income of network marketing. Is it worth it? It's worth it 1,000,000 times over. So that's my training, and it's simple. It's 1, 2, 3. If you want more on training, it's all in the back office of NUMMI. There are reams of training. The NUMMI Academy, there's the 1, 2, 3 and the ABC there. The 1, 2, 3 and the ABC in the back office are, number 1, connect to the tools, because there's great tools. And another one shows up in the ABC, that's the app. You definitely teach people to download the app and use the app. But the 1, 2, 3 is connect to tools, connect to leaders, connect to products. So it's a lot about that heart-centered kind of thing I talked about. And the ABC is the app, B is the bonus, and C is community. Bonus is that part of that goal structure, the thing that this is where you actually can see, you can visualize making some money, bringing the 3, getting the bonus, helping those 3 get their 3, earning the bonus. Understanding those bonuses will help you to focus on the activity that creates success in your business. And community is all about coming together, the calls, the Facebook groups, all of those kinds of things. The trainings are all there. There's no shortage of it. I went through my simple 1, 2, 3 training. I like to keep it super simple so that duplicates, but within each of those, you heard a lot of information. Nicole was fantastic. She backed up everything that I brought up tonight and emphasized it. And so I really, really appreciate you there, Nicole. And Keith, I see you starting to pop in here, so I'll let you kind of polish up.
Wow, Dr. Jerry, that was fire. I could tell you, I got a basically the highlights, and it's just powerful. You talked about the three key things of you're becoming a product of the product, communication, and don't give up. And Nicole kind of paralleled that with the top three key things that I took away from her was be
Yeah.
authentic, be consistent, and never, ever, ever stop sharing your story. One of my mentors in the industry once told me that he or she who shows the plan the most wins. So he or she who tells the story the most wins. You just got to keep telling the stories, right, Dr. Jerry?
That's right. And there's another thing that I've heard leaders say: the person that gets the most no's makes the most money.
Isn't that right?
Yeah,
55-gallon bucket of no's and a 1-gallon bucket of yeses.
that's right.
Absolutely. Great training tonight. I hope everybody got a good couple of pages of notes, because this is some solid gold stuff. I'm excited that we was able to have this event tonight. And Dr. Jerry, I certainly 100% appreciate you taking time out to come and share with the entire Numi Nation. Thanks again.
Absolutely. I love it.
So tomorrow night, Thursday night, we got Steve Scott live in the technology, the breakthrough of Numi. So make sure if you're here tonight, get on the phone or get on your text message, or not your landline, maybe your landline if you like to use that. What Nicole was talking about. I don't even have one of those in my house anymore. Most people today wouldn't even know how to use it, right? But get with the folks who that you've been kind of chatting with, kind of talking to, and get them to that call tomorrow night, because I'm gonna tell you, the way Steve Scott explains the technology, the breakthrough of Numi, it's golden, and that's one thing that kept me locked in. So get on that call, get some folks there, follow up, and just do it again next week. And then what you do the week after that is do it again, and the week after that, do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, you do it again. You keep telling the story, keep sharing a dream, keep sharing Numi. Hope everyone had a great night. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your evening. So for the entire Numi Nation, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Have a good one.
Thanks, Keith.